a story that is deep, deep, deep in our hearts and our souls as the myth of the birth of something new. The myth of spiritual evolution and growth. The story that we open our hearts to the birth of the Christ consciousness. And that the story of Jesus and Mary and Joseph and the shepherds and the kings, it's a beautiful story, isn't it? It resonates deep in our souls and our hearts, doesn't it? And yet it is all symbology. It is a metaphor for all of the ways that we awaken to the spiritual truth of who and whose we are. We belong to something greater than we are, don't we? And so let's use the story, let's ride the wave of the Christmas season to use this story to open our hearts to this greater something that we are, so that we can practice. See, we're humans, and we live kind of in this, we live in a human realm that appears to be limited, right? And in this human realm, it's easy to forget that the universe is infinite, that the mind of God is infinite, that there is something greater than we are. And awakening to that, evolving into the awareness of that more and more fully each day is our purpose here on earth. And we use these seasonal times like Christmas to revisit the stories that anchor us in the spiritual truth of who we are. And so when we're talking about the birth of Jesus, we're talking about the birth of a way of being in the world. We're talking about the birth of a way of seeing things, a consciousness within which we walk. And we just use the baby as the metaphor to remind us. We have to do this every year, right? I kind of have to do it every week. Because I forget on a pretty regular basis who I am. Being a minister is perfect for that. Because every Sunday, you got to say something sensible. So you got to do your spiritual practice and you got to do your study. The universe holds you accountable in a way. And so today, I wanted to talk about the idea of gratitude. That is, cultivating a grateful heart is part of turning toward that which is to come, turning toward the birth of something new. It's part of preparing our hearts to receive the bigger idea, the greater love, the more powerful peace, the deeper understanding. It's part of preparing ourselves to remember who and whose we are. So, what I did was I prepared a few thank you notes, if you will, a few notes on gratitude, because gratitude you see is a cause, not an effect. A lot of times I think, and we actually talked about this in November a little bit, a lot of times I think we get this notion that, well, I'll be grateful when I receive something. But haven't we already received, wait a minute, are you breathing? You've received your breath in this moment, haven't you? Is your heart beating? You've received another moment of life right now. Are you sitting in a chair? You've received a comfortable place to sit already. Did you remember your glasses? You can be grateful for that. These guys know I forget my glasses if you don't know me. Did you remember? See, we've received so bountifully already that gratitude becomes a way of living when we remember what we have already received. And I told you in November, and I'm just going to reinforce it right now because maybe you'll memorize this. Plato told us, those many years ago, a grateful mind is a great mind that attracts to it great things. A grateful mind is a great mind that attracts to it great things. So gratitude is a causative force, a creative energy. We have this example, this birth of this baby that we celebrate. When he became a man, one of the things that he did was he raised a man from the dead, didn't he? That's part of the mythology, part of the story that supports our awakening, our spiritual evolution. And what did he do first? Before he told Lazarus to rise up, what did he do first? He gave thanks. And that, men and women, to me, is the biggest indicator that gratitude is a cause. You see, we follow the teachings of this master teacher that we call Jesus. He taught us how to be available to the spiritual evolution that we are here to be about. He taught us how to be available to that. And what did he do? He said, thank you. He gave thanks. And then he said, and oh, by the way, get up. But do you see how gratitude is a causative force? It cultivates a consciousness in which potential and possibility can make itself known. Now, anybody feeling a little stressed around the holiday thing? Anybody, let's leave out the holidays for a moment. Anybody feeling a little irritated with somebody or something? Or some institution? Do you see how that is Lazarus is dead. He's dead. Do you see how when we are in the midst of irritated, when we're in the midst of stress, we've forgotten that we live in the mind and in the heart of God? So let us duplicate the teaching of Jesus and give thanks. We can thank our way out of these situations using this tool called gratitude. We simply begin to cultivate a grateful heart. And you see how that is turning toward the Advent, the preparation for something new. That is making ourselves available to the greater idea by simply cultivating a grateful heart, giving thanks, even if it's not already done. Take a deep breath with me. And so here are a few thoughts about ways that we can cultivate this grateful heart, a few thank you notes, if you will. Sometimes we think we should give thanks, and if it is true that gratitude is a causative, a creative force, we can fall into the mistake of thinking, well then, I'll give thanks because I want to get something. Right. But you see, we don't give thanks because we want to get. We give thanks because we have already received. And we want to be the place where that divine flow can simply continue to flow. We want to be the place where the next breath happens, where the next heartbeat happens. We want to be the place where the next opportunity shows up. We want to be the place where the next right relationship shows up. We want to be the place where the perfect job can make itself known. Not because we got the perfect job, not because we got the great relationship, but because we want to be available to what the universe has for us. We simply cultivate that attitude of gratitude. You see, if we begin to think that, if I'm going to get, I better get thankful, do you see how that corrupts the process? Because life is not about getting, and life is not about having. And that's an interesting thing to think about this time of year, right? I made a Christmas list on Amazon.com, and Patty came to me yesterday and she said, there's nothing on your Christmas list on Amazon. I said, yes, there is. There's a bunch of stuff on there. She's like, no, there isn't. I mean, yes, there is. And she said, no, go look. Everything's been purchased by someone. I was like, I can't believe that. It kind of blows my mind. And she reminded me, you made yourself available, you created a list, you made yourself available, and people are just responding to your making yourself, by cultivating your willingness to have those things show up. And it was such a shocker to me. And then she said, you need to add some things to your list. And I'm like, I can't think of another thing I need or want. My life is so full. What would I possibly put on it? Now, I'm sure, Amazon.com is big, right? I bet I could find something on there. But, really in that moment, I have received so much. I am so blessed. I am so cared for in my life. My life is so rich. And am I the richest person? No, of course not. But my life is so rich, it's hard for me to think of things I could possibly want. And yet, if I cultivate that practice of gratitude, I make myself available to something so much greater than Amazon could ever provide to me. Yes? Opportunity, potential, people, relationships, joy, happiness, peace. So I don't express gratitude because I want to get. I express gratitude because I have already received, and I want to be the place where God can show up. I want to be the place where love flows as me. And gratitude will lift me out of my irritations, out of my little stuff, out of my dissatisfactions with life, so that I can allow that flow to make itself known as me. How about you? Do you think you could do that? Sometimes it feels easier than others. You know, the other week I was feeling kind of cranky about something. And I was trying to be grateful. And it was a little bit of a challenge. And I called Silent Unity. I said, I need to cultivate a little bit more grateful heart. And they prayed with me. You see, we can't always do these things for ourselves. Sometimes we need a little support, yes? There's somebody here who will support you in cultivating a grateful heart. I promise you. You can fill out a prayer card. You can talk to a prayer chaplain after the service. You can come to me and I'll point you in the right direction. You can take a class where you'll get connected with people who become your support people. You can participate in a small group. There are so many ways that you can line up those people who are going to support you in moving in gratitude when you are having a hard time feeling it yourself or talking yourself into it yourself, because this journey is not by ourselves. We're in community for a reason. And isn't it interesting that, the people around us are both the source of our greatest joys and our greatest irritations? Yes? And somehow I think those two things are pretty linked, you guys. I think there's lessons for us in learning to be, the master teacher, Jesus, that consciousness that we are attempting to embody, his main teaching was love. And you know what? He loved the people that weren't like his favorite people, didn't he? Can you? So, cultivating that sense of gratitude because we simply want to. Because that is the consciousness in which we want to move and breathe and have our being, the consciousness of the Christ. We give thanks because we have already received so much. We give thanks because it makes the world a better place. We give thanks because it makes us feel good. Now, I don't know about you, there's probably been times in my life when I was kind of addicted to not feeling good. Sometimes I think, sometimes when I see some of the ads and stuff for things on TV, I'm just like, wow, do people really watch that? Wow. Because these are people who are addicted to not feeling very good. Really? What really do we want to experience in life? Joy, peace, love, contentment, happiness, fulfillment. That's what I want for Christmas. And yeah, I want the lamp. Yes. There are a couple of, I want the little pastry mat. There are some things that I want. But I would gladly trade the pastry mat for a little more love, a little more joy, a little more contentment. Yes? Gratitude makes us feel good. It makes us feel more joyful, more content. So let's just get grateful. Let's get grateful for all of our experience, because the thing is when we can't be grateful for the bad things in life, and I'm saying quote because I actually don't believe that there are any bad things in life. When we can't be grateful for the more difficult and the challenges of life, they rule us. They become our story. They become the thing that we talk about. Or we don't talk about it, we just push it down and eat or fret or worry or do drugs or something else instead. If we cannot cultivate an attitude of gratitude for the difficult things in life, those drive us. They drive our experience of life. I want to be driven by love. See, I embody that Christ consciousness. I turn toward the birth of this consciousness, this new thing in my heart and in my mind and in my soul. And that is an attitude of gratitude and acceptance and joy for all things in life. And sometimes you got to dig pretty deep, yeah? Like, really? Is there really something for me to be grateful for here? If nothing else, you can be grateful for the greater wisdom and understanding you have received because of this experience. If nothing else, even if you can't be grateful for that, you can be grateful for this breath. And you can be grateful for this breath. And you can be grateful for this breath. And I guarantee you, if you cultivate a sense of gratitude for each breath, you will become grateful for the wisdom and understanding that you got from the thing that right now you're having a hard time being grateful for. See, it's a process. One of the things that I think a lot of times in our culture we want right now is we want instant. I want it now. I want that pastry mat now. Amazon can have it on my porch tomorrow. Seriously, I've gotten so bad. I ordered some shampoo from some company online a few weeks ago, and it took like 2 weeks for it to get there, and I was really irritated. Can you? This is how it's got. If I can't have it in 2 days, I don't order it. It's crazy. So let's be grateful for the wisdom and the understanding that we get from having the experience of getting irritated when I can't get something for 2 weeks. Wow, what is mine to learn here? What is the opportunity for me to grow into a greater understanding of who I am and why I'm here? And maybe I just need to be grateful for this breath until the greater understanding is revealed. And I promise you, I guarantee you that as you stay faithful to the principle, as you practice knowing the spiritual truth, and embodying a sense of gratitude for it, that wisdom and that understanding will come to you because that is how the universe works. Ernest Holmes says, praise yourself from weakness to strength, from ignorance to intelligence. Praise yourself from poverty to abundance. Praise yourself. And I want to say it this way, praise your life from ignorance to understanding. Praise the planet from ignorance to understanding. Look for the good and praise it is the saying and the song. Look for the good and praise it. Praise the world from weakness to strength. Praise your life from confusion to clarity. Praise your life. Praise your life. Praise your life. Breathe with me as we turn within and begin to recognize more and more fully the spiritual truth that gratitude is a choice. Cultivating a grateful life, cultivating an attitude of gratitude, embodying the Christ consciousness of all life is a choice. And it's a choice we make with every breath. It's a choice we make in every moment. And so breathing, surrendering, awakening, opening your heart more fully than you ever have before, opening your mind more fully than you ever have before to the wisdom and the understanding, allowing your mind to be available to the Christ mind. Choose gratitude now. Choose a life of fulfillment and peace and joy. Choose a life of gratitude. And begin to see yourself walking in gratitude with every breath, with every moment, every experience in your life. You praise it, you raise it. And those things that bring you joy, those things that perhaps bring you a sense of pain or loss, find a way to be grateful. Choose to be grateful. And allow that sense of gratitude to simply expand your mind and your heart into a place you have never been before. Open, receptive, present, aware. Simply say yes to the consciousness in which Jesus walked. Say yes to the very mind of God making itself known as you, the very heart of God making itself known as you now. Feel grateful. Be grateful. Accept. Receive. And just plain give thanks. And so I close this message with a grateful heart, knowing that we are more available, more awake, more aware, that we are simply present to the presence. I call it good and very good, and so it is. Amen.